The richest man in America drove a beat-up pickup truck, not because he couldn't afford a Bentley. He could have bought the factory. He drove it because the truck got him where he needed to go, to his stores at 4 in the morning before anyone else showed up. While other billionaires were collecting exotic cars and building mansions, this man kept a 1979 Ford F-150 with wire cages in the back for his bird dogs. His license plate was plain. His clothes were from his own stores, and every single morning he was already at work before the sun came up. His name was Sam Walton, and the empire he built is worth more than the GDP of most countries. Today, Walmart generates over $600 billion in annual revenue. It employs 2.1 million people. It is the largest private employer on the planet. But here's what nobody talks about. The thing that separated Walton from every other retailer who tried to compete with him wasn't money. It wasn't luck. It wasn't even strategy. It was obsession, not passion, not dedication, not hustle culture. Obsession. The kind of obsession that makes a billionaire memorize the price of dish soap in a store in rural Arkansas. The kind that makes a 70-year-old man wake up at 3 in the morning to drive to a store opening 4 states away. The kind that his competitors thought was beneath them, and that's exactly why they lost. In 1945, Sam Walton borrowed $20,000 from his father-in-law and bought a single Ben Franklin variety store in Newport, Arkansas. Population, about 7,000. The store was small, the town was small, and by every measure that matters to people in business school, this was a terrible bet. He was 27 years old. No retail experience, no MBA, just a relentless curiosity about what made customers walk through the door and what made them come back. He didn't have a 5-year plan. He had a notebook and a willingness to outwork everyone around him. From day one, Walton did something his competitors thought was insane. He spent his weekends driving to other stores, not his own, but everyone else's. He'd walk the aisles with a notepad, writing down prices, studying displays, talking to cashiers. He wasn't embarrassed about it. He was studying the game. Most business owners would never do this. Their ego wouldn't let them. They'd see walking through a competitor's store as an admission that they didn't have all the answers. But Walton didn't care about looking smart. He cared about being smart. And there's a massive difference between those two things. He'd fly his own plane to visit stores in small towns no other executive would bother with. He'd land on dirt strips in the middle of nowhere, walk into a Kmart or a regional grocery store, and take notes on what they were doing right. He'd talk to the store managers. He'd ask questions that would make most CEOs uncomfortable. How do you price your soap? Why is your produce section on the left instead of the right? What do your customers complain about? Then he'd fly home and implement the best ideas before the week was over. While his competitors were still scheduling meetings to discuss the meeting, Walton had already made the change, tested it, and moved on to the next thing. By 1962, he opened the first Walmart in Rogers, Arkansas. The idea was simple but radical. Sell brand-name products at the lowest possible price, in towns that the big retailers had completely ignored. Sears wouldn't touch towns under 100,000 people. Kmart wanted suburbs. Walton wanted the places nobody else wanted, and that's where the empire started. Not in New York, not in Chicago, not in any city that a Harvard case study would have recommended, in Rogers, Arkansas. Population 5,000. By the mid-1970s, Walmart had over 100 stores, and Walton made a decision that his board thought was reckless. He invested millions into a private satellite communication system, the largest private satellite network in the country at the time. This was before the internet, before email, before most corporations had computers on every desk. His own board members pushed back. They said it was too expensive. They said it was unnecessary. They said retailers don't need satellites. But Walton saw something they didn't. He saw that the future of retail wasn't about products. It was about information. The company that knew the most about what was happening on the ground would win, and he was going to make sure that company was Walmart. The satellite system let every single Walmart store communicate inventory data to headquarters in real time. Walton could see what was selling in a store in Alabama at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. He could reroute trucks, adjust pricing, move product from stores where it was sitting to stores where it was flying off shelves. His competitors were still doing inventory counts with clipboards. They were running their supply chains with phone calls and fax machines. And by the time they realized what Walton had built, it was already too late to catch up. But here's the part most people miss. The satellite wasn't just about logistics. It was about Walton's obsession with knowing what was happening on the ground. He didn't want reports filtered through 6 layers of management. He wanted raw data, and he wanted it now. This is the same man who, as a billionaire, would still show up to store openings. He'd walk the floor. He'd talk to associates by name, not just the managers, the shelf stockers, the cashiers, the people in the back room loading pallets. He'd check end cap displays and ask why a particular product was placed where it was. Not because he was micromanaging, because he understood something most CEOs forget the moment they get rich. The details are the strategy. Every decision Walton made was rooted in one question. Does this get us closer to the customer or further away? If the answer was further away, he killed it. Didn't matter how good it looked on a spreadsheet. Didn't matter how many consultants recommended it. If it created distance between the company and the customer, it was gone. Now compare this to what happened at Sears. In the 1980s, Sears was the largest retailer in America. They had more stores, more revenue, and more brand recognition than Walmart. The Sears catalog was in every home in America. Their tower in Chicago was the tallest building in the world. They were untouchable. And their leadership made a choice. They diversified, they bought Dean Witter, they bought Coldwell Banker, they launched the Discover card. They tried to become a financial services conglomerate. They thought retail was boring. They thought they'd outgrown it. They wanted to be something bigger, something more sophisticated. Meanwhile, Walton doubled down on retail. Just retail. Every dollar went back into supply chain, distribution technology, and store expansion. He didn't diversify. He didn't hedge. He went deeper. While Sears was trying to become a bank, Walton was figuring out how to get toilet paper from a warehouse to a shelf 2 hours faster. By 1991, Walmart surpassed Sears in revenue. Sears never recovered. They filed for bankruptcy in 2018. The tallest building in the world became just another office tower, and the catalog that was in every American home became a museum piece. The lesson here isn't just about focus, though. It's about what happens when the person at the top stops being obsessed with the actual work. Sears' leadership moved to the tower. They became deal makers, not operators. They lost touch with the customer, the store floor, the daily grind of retail. They thought they'd graduated from it. They thought the corner office was a reward for years of hard work. It wasn't. It was the beginning of the end. Walton never graduated. He didn't want to. He was still visiting stores in his 70s, still flying that little plane, still carrying a notepad. His net worth was over $8 billion, and he was eating breakfast at the local diner asking the waitress how business was. You see this pattern over and over. The founders who stay in the details outperform the ones who move to 30,000 feet. Jeff Bezos still reads customer complaint emails. Elon Musk sleeps on the factory floor during production crunches. These aren't quirks. They're competitive advantages. They're signals to every person in the organization that the work matters, that the details matter, that nobody is above the grind. There's a popular myth in business culture right now that the CEO's job is to work on the business, not in the business. Delegate everything. Build systems. Remove yourself. The dream is to run a company from a beach in Bali while your team handles everything. And there's a version of that advice that's true. You can't do everything yourself. You need systems. You need people. You need to let go of the things that don't require your specific attention. But somewhere along the way, that advice got twisted into something dangerous. The idea that the best leaders are the ones who are most removed from the work. The ones who have the fewest meetings. The ones who check their dashboards once a week and spend the rest of their time thinking strategically. That's how you get CEOs who can't explain their own product, who haven't talked to a customer in years, who make decisions based on dashboards built by people who built them to make the numbers look good. Walton understood something most business books won't tell you. Delegation without obsession is just abdication. You can build all the systems you want, but if the person at the top doesn't care about the details, really care, not just say they care in a quarterly earnings call, the whole thing starts to drift. It drifts slowly. You don't notice it at first. The numbers still look fine. The board meetings are positive, the PowerPoint presentations are polished, but the culture shifts, the standards slip. The people who care the most start to leave because they can see that the person running the show is checked out. And by the time it shows up in the numbers, it's already too late. Sam Walton died in 1992. He was 74 years old. His net worth at the time made him the richest person in America. He spent his final years the same way he spent his first, visiting stores, talking to employees, obsessing over the details. But what's more remarkable than the money is the consistency. From 1945 to 1992, 47 years, the man never stopped doing the work, never stopped visiting stores, never stopped obsessing over the details that everyone else thought were beneath them. 47 years. Most people can't maintain that intensity for 47 days. He once said something that should be framed in every office of every entrepreneur who thinks they've made it. He said the key was to swim upstream. Go the opposite direction of everyone else. When they're getting comfortable, get hungrier. When they're moving to the corner office, get back on the floor. When they're delegating everything, pick up the notebook. That's the obsession advantage. It's not about working more hours. It's not about grinding yourself into the ground. It's about never losing the thing that made you dangerous in the first place. The hunger to know your business better than anyone alive. Most people